Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 7th, and right now we are looking at the combination of Doppler radars. Here you can see western BC, Washington, Oregon, frontal system moving through. We've got winter weather advisory, winter storm warnings, wind advisories. It is a nice winter storm moving on in through here today and on in through tomorrow. So heads up if you're traveling across the mountains, especially, and this is going to eventually translate to some snowfall across the Rocky Mountains of Idaho, Montana as well. There's winter storm warnings out there in effect. Winter weather advisories also out there. Take a look at those details a little bit more here in a moment. Now taking a look here at the mid-level water vapor loop. You can see the frontal system moving through this morning. The winds are going to be picking up any time now across some of the interior areas. Typical blustery and gusty frontal system moving through, parent low all the way up towards southeast Alaska here. Then we've got one more system to go through later this week before we start a pattern change as we go on in through mid-February. We'll take a look at that in some detail as well. Now looking at the current hazards, you can see the wind advisories, the northwest interior here, southeast of Mount Rainier, across some of the higher terrain, the Nachi's included out there, Blue Mountains, winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings out here in the pink here, and you see the high wind watches and warnings for some areas of Montana as well. Now looking at this is the European, last night's run. There goes our frontal system, bringing all the snow across BC, Washington, convergent zone activity, possibly locally enhancing snowfall here across some of the central and north Cascades as we go through tonight into tomorrow morning. You can see Wednesday morning, snow is still going to be going strong across much of the Washington Cascades, all the way out towards some of the Rocky Mountains of Idaho, Montana there as well. So heads up if you're traveling across these higher passes, Lookout Pass, Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie, White Pass, heads up, folks. It is going to be a nice snowmaker. And you can see the next system here as we go on in through Thursday. Weak form front for Washington, but it brings some better dynamics here for BC. Another round of snowfall here for the higher terrain. Frontal system goes rolling through here on Friday. Nothing too incredibly strong, but after that one, we're going to be watching for the pattern change. More on that here in a minute. This is looking at the NAM 3KM composite reflectivity. This is what the Doppler radar should look like today. And you can see that frontal system moving through. And as we go through this afternoon and evening, you see that convergent zone signature here for some of the central North Cascades. And you can see the snow continuing on in through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So have your heads up there if you're going across some of the higher terrain. Be prepared for that. Now, this is looking at the European last night's run, 10-meter wind gusts, Seattle up around 40, a little bit better across northwest interior and the immediate coastline, some of the higher terrain there. But again, the Europeans been underplaying these wind gusts a little bit here. So we're looking at the NAM here now. Again, same thing, accumulated 10-meter max wind gust, known as surfaced wind speed here. So it measured at about 33 feet off the surface, officially anyway. But you can see the higher gusts here across Skagit, Whatcom County along the immediate coastline there. The San Juans, down towards Whidbey Island. Look at Seattle, 47. Some gusts up towards 50 miles per hour for the Washington, Oregon coast. And again for the higher terrain as well. Now looking at this, total precipitation for the next 90 hours, you can see Seattle, a little bit of a rain shadow going on there, but still getting up over half an inch. And you can see a better rain shadow across portions of Whidbey Island. And of course, the master of rain shadows is out here across eastern BC, Washington, and Oregon. But you can see the bullseye here across some of the higher terrain for some big precipitation amounts, a lot of which is going to fall as snowfall. North Cascades are going to get a nice round here, probably 2+ feet for some areas, including through British Columbia. Now, this is looking at total snow couture on last night's European run. You can kind of see where these bullseye amounts are across North Cascades and BC. Mount Rainier getting a nice round of snowfall here too. But watch Snoqualmie Pass too. You're going to get some accumulating snowfall on in through Wednesday. So heads up traveling across I-90. That snow level is going to crash down pretty low here. And you can see a few inches across the Oregon Cascades as well. And more as you go off towards east Idaho, western Montana, Lookout Pass, etc., off to the east there. This is looking at the HER 3KM. You can kind of see this is a high-resolution model, so it picks up these terrain features a bit better here. You can see Stevens Pass getting up towards around 2 feet potentially here, and maybe a few flakes for some of the higher hills, the higher foothill hills across some of the Puget Sound here as we go on in through Wednesday morning, but should not be anything other than just kind of a nice little wintry scene for those higher hills. Now, this is looking at Seattle, Tacoma, going out through mid-February here. You can kind of see that cooler weather approaching here. But right now, we're still far enough out where we don't have a lot of good detail on this, just how cold we're going to get. So we'll watch this day by day. It's not too late to get some lowland snowfall here. It's still just mid-February. We can still do it here, but it takes a pretty good setup to get it done. We'll take a look at some of those details here in a moment. Here's Vancouver International Airport. You can kind of see that cooler weather approaching towards mid-month period there as well. Spokane, something similar here, but we're looking pretty far out right now. This is for Eugene. You can see some temperatures down into the mid-20s potentially, but you notice these daytime highs. It gets harder and harder the further you go on into the year to bring the daytime highs down. So, the sun's starting to rise up on the angle of the sun's rays are warming things up a bit more as we go. That's why it gets progressively harder the further you go on into February to get lowland snow events. Now looking at Quileute Airport here, 2 inches of rain, not out of the question as we go on in through tonight. Then you can see the next system here. Then the pattern change comes after that. Now this is looking at the extended forecast here. This is last night's European run, the deterministic. There's Alaska, BC, Washington, Oregon here. 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. So here goes our current frontal system moving through. Bit of a break here before the next system rolls through later this week. It is weakening by the time it reaches the Pacific Northwest. And then you can see this ridge start to retrograde and allow this big trough of cold air to dig down over the Pacific Northwest. Pretty impressive signal right there. So this is something worth watching here. We can get all kinds of crazy stuff. And this is a pretty good bet for some really big mountain snows across the area here, especially if things line up right. But you can't rule out lowland snow across some of the areas in this type of a trough there as well. Go a little bit further out, and you'll notice the jet stream stays active here and some troughing across Alaska, 240 hours out there. Now looking at the GFS, that was at 384 hours there. So let's go ahead and play this out. There goes our frontal system, bit of a break. Next system rolling through, weakening. Pretty good agreement with the European there. Ridge builds, starts to retrograde here and allows for that cold air to move down. So pretty good model agreement there between the GFS and the European there as you go out through February 14th, shown there. Some pretty darn chilly air coming across the area here. This one's got a little bit of a different problem versus the one we just had. Remember how it got blocked by the mountains and the trajectory was coming out of the north and the northeast? This one might spend a little bit too much time over water and modify at that point. So you can see the problem we have trying to get snowfall down to the surface or in the Pacific Northwest has to take a perfect trajectory. But this one isn't too bad though here. I mean, it shows this cold air kind of getting all the way down, this polar lobe, all the way over the Pacific Northwest. This is pretty darn cold air here. So anyway, we'll watch this over the next few days and see how it trends. Now taking a look here, the Canadian. I believe this is the ensemble. Yes, it is. So this is the Pacific North American Oscillation. You can clearly see us going to the negative territory here as we go towards mid-February. European is in agreement there as well. And this is what it means to be in that negative territory with the Pacific North American Oscillation here, highlighted by that ridging across the Aleutian Islands there. And this would be the opposite, Pacific North American positive here with the high pressure over North America and the storm track out over the Aleutian Islands and Pacific Ocean there. Now this is looking at some of the Cascades. As the snow comes in here, you can see I've got high avalanche danger across Snoqualmie Pass north, across Washington Cascades, got considerable across the southern and down through Oregon. There's moderate here. So heads up before you're going out into the backcountry here. Really good website here. We'll go to the forecast here for a moment. You can see it shows you a near tree line above, below. And so this is worth checking out. They've got a forecast discussion. You can see Tuesday night here. Look at the snow level crashing to 2,000 feet. So that's going to easily include Snoqualmie Pass. And you're going to be well before Snoqualmie Pass. You're going to start getting some snowfall here as you're going in through Tuesday night on into Wednesday morning here. And it's going to be windy as well. So watch out for that if you are crossing the passes Tuesday night on in through Wednesday, folks. Now, let's take a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. You can see the west coast of North America kind of highlighted there. This goes through February 16th. 8 to 14 day goes through February 20th here, and you can see much of the west is included there as well. Now, this is for much of western Oregon here, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. This goes for a lot of the Pacific Northwest, though, mainly the higher terrain getting those gusty winds, but kind of a typical gusty frontal system moving through today. This is Pocatello, Idaho, talking about their minimum wind chills on in through Thursday here. You can see Yellowstone. You can see the higher terrain here, and you look down towards Twin Falls, Burley, Pocatello down here. Pretty chilly out there with this frontal system moving through. So heads up if you're out there across Idaho and western Montana for these chilly temperatures moving in here. Now, this is snow expected here. This is National Weather Service Spokane. Just a heads up, it's going to be pretty darn tough travel conditions coming across Highway 2 and I-90 there as we go on in through Wednesday. This is wind gusts. Check this out. Some of the Blue Mountains down here, Tollgate, Walla Walla, Tri-Cities, Bickleton, Goldale, White Pass out there. You know, you see these winds are going to be blowing out there. So heads up if you're out and about traveling, folks. This is mountain snow here. This is National Weather Service Spokane as well. Look at Stevens calling for 18 to 24 inches of snowfall there. So watch out. Look out past. Get up towards a foot there as well. Maybe a little bit of snowfall down for some of the lower elevations down towards Spokane. Not really lower elevations, but versus the higher terrain off to the east there anyway. But yeah, watch out for these winter conditions here, folks. And this shows Jerome, Idaho here. I just wanted to kind of remind everybody, remember we were going through that warm period there in January here? You can kind of see it there. We were above average for a while, and then we had the couple of cold snaps. Remember those as they came through here towards the end of January as well. So we're probably going through another cold snap here as we go through mid-February. It'll be fun to watch this over the next couple of days, as always, to see just how cold we're going to get here across the Pacific Northwest. No promises yet. No extreme Arctic outbreak can be predicted at this range, so do not get... don't get too crazy just yet. We'll just watch it day by day, and we'll try to break it down and see what's potentially coming here, because we have some pretty good model agreement that the signal is here and it's coming, but we just don't know the details yet. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. We will do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.